Registered apprenticeships are a vital key strategy that we are implementing here in Tennessee to help fill the employee gap, the people gap here in Tennessee, and to help build valuable skills and knowledge so that we have a highly trained and capable workforce. In our division and at the department, we believe that every Tennessean should be viable in the workplace, and an apprenticeship program is one strategy that, when implemented correctly, can help to fill that need and that gap for our Tennesseans. It was just 2 short years ago that we started the Office of Apprenticeship Tennessee, and with support from our governor, Governor Bill Lee, we're able to launch the Office of Apprenticeship, and we are so thankful and excited to talk about all of the great things that are happening through that office today, and for you to hear from folks that are in that office.
But let me give you a session, and this goes from 10 to 12, but after lunch, I'll be calling you back.
And all of the great things that come along with it.
All right, thanks, man.
We have a lot of things to celebrate here in Tennessee. We have recently just hit our highest number ever in the history of our state with apprentices. Over 7,300 apprentices now actively in an apprenticeship program. And that's just incredible. The number of pre-apprenticeship programs that lead to a registered apprenticeship is also at the highest level ever here in Tennessee. We've got over 2,500 programs registered in the state. We're transitioning from a U.S. Department of Labor apprenticeship state to a state apprenticeship agency that will help to reduce cycle time for new programs to be started and for apprentices to come on board. A lot of things to celebrate here in Tennessee, and a lot of things going on related to apprenticeship. We look forward to sharing more and to hearing from our panelists. Thank you so much for joining us today and sharing about how apprenticeship has impacted your work and your business. And with that, I will wrap up my comments and say thank you again for joining us. And we appreciate your time this morning and look forward to hearing more about all of the great things that apprenticeship has to offer here in Tennessee. Charlene, I'm turning it back to you.
Thank you. So at this time, my colleague and I will share a little bit about apprenticeship programs. So I'm Charlene Russell, and I have the privilege of serving the 40 counties in the Grand Middle region. I'm here with Shalandria Shaw, our West Tennessee Apprenticeship Director. And go ahead.
Yes, and I am happy to serve our 21 counties in the Grand West region, consisting of Northwest, Southwest, and Greater Memphis. So at this time, we're going to begin with an overview of apprenticeships.
So as our Assistant Commissioner mentioned, our office was put into place in July of 2019. We are part of Tennessee's workforce development system, and you can see there on the screen, we work very closely with several departments to build out talent pipelines to address the workforce issues here in Tennessee. We do that through a lot of outreach. We consult with employers on program design. So here in our office, we actually develop registration and documentation for employers. We work with them to build out registered apprenticeship programs, and then we submit those registration documents to the U.S. Department of Labor on their behalf. We then walk that journey with them. We provide technical assistance, and we help them update their program design as needed. In the ecosystem of work-based learning, there are a lot of terms. So when we refer to apprenticeships, we're referring to registered apprenticeships that are registered with the U.S. Department of Labor. And we'll talk a little bit more about the importance of that on the next couple of slides. An apprenticeship is a flexible and proven talent development strategy that has been around for several years. And so we are, our office is here to help companies update existing apprenticeship programs, or, you know, maybe shift their current training programs into a registered apprenticeship model. So there are 5 core components of a registered apprenticeship program, and I cannot overstate the importance, how important the first component is. It's employer involvement. We really do work and serve the employers to design a program that fits their needs. That program involves on-the-job learning. That on-the-job learning is specific to the occupation, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a couple of slides. We measure on-the-job learning in hours, and it is prescribed by the U.S. Department of Labor, but we work very closely with our employer partners to customize what that looks like to fit your processes. In addition to the required on-the-job learning, related technical instruction is also required. That's the classroom piece that complements that on-the-job learning. We also work with employers to develop wage progression skills. Those wage progression skills are completely set by the employer, and we help to modify them and work with the employer to make sure that the apprentices understand that upon completion of a certain number of competencies or upon completion of a certain number of on-the-job learning hours, they will receive a specified increase in pay. We really do stress to employers and apprentices that this is a earn while you learn model. And finally, upon completion of a registered apprenticeship program, the apprentices do earn a national occupational credential. And this is what that occupational credential looks like. So if you know someone who is a journey worker in a trade, this is the credential that they hold. And so this credential is available in well over 2,000 occupations. And later on in the chat, I will share that link so that you can explore all of the occupations that are available for us to work with you to build your program around. So I mentioned on-the-job learning and related technical instruction, and you can see here that according or depending on the number of on-the-job learning hours that is required for a specific occupation, that determines how long that program can be. So for an entry-level machine operator, that may be a 2,000-hour program. Or it may be, you know, a tool and die maker, which could be a 4-year program or an 8,000-hour program. There are 3 models of on-the-job learning. Those models are competency-based, time-based, and a hybrid. And they are just what they sound like. So a competency-based program would be built around a model where apprentices master competencies and move on to the next skill. Their mentor would sign off saying that, yes, they have completed or mastered that competency, and they work at their own pace. A time-based model requires an apprentice to complete a set amount of hours for each competency. And then a hybrid is kind of a combination of both. So that apprentice may spend 50 hours, and after 50 hours on a competency, if they've completed that, then they could move on. But if they're not quite there yet, then maybe they have 100 hours. They're going to spend 100 hours on that competency. So those are the types of details that our office is here to work through with you. When we work with employers, this is the very first decision that is made. There are 3 responsibilities of a registered apprenticeship program: a sponsor, an employer partner, and a training provider. And an employer can do all 3 of those things, or we can connect an employer to an organization like a TCAT or a community college or a nonprofit third party who could serve as their sponsor and or training provider. A sponsor is responsible for registering the apprentices in Rapids 2.0 and documenting the on-the-job learning and related technical hours. The sponsor also holds responsibility to ensure that the model of on-the-job learning and related technical instruction is being followed by all employer partners. An employer partner hires the apprentice. They pay them according to that structured wage progression scale. They provide the required on-the-job learning, and they assume the cost of the training. And finally, the training provider does just that. They provide the classroom piece, the training. And again, that could be done in-house, or that could be done with one of our state partners, or that could be done with an online training provider. It is completely up to the employer. Now I'm going to turn it back over to my colleague, Shalandria, and she's going to tell you a little bit about pre-apprenticeships.
In order to establish a common language among stakeholders, the department has collaborated with multiple state agency partners to create a glossary of terms related to registered apprenticeship programs, or what we call RAPs. Registered apprenticeship programs, it's basically a plan containing all terms and conditions for the qualification, recruitment, selection, employment, and training of apprentices, including matters such as the requirement for a written apprenticeship agreement. Apprenticeship programs are full-time positions with an employer. Youth apprenticeship programs, any registered apprenticeship program in which the employer specifies in the apprenticeship agreement that individuals age 16 and above may participate. Youth apprenticeship is a learning system that simply prepares the students for work by giving them a combination of classroom instruction and paid on-the-job training. In this education model, students obtain a set of well-defined occupational abilities by learning concepts in the classroom and applications in a work setting. A youth registered apprenticeship is also a paid position. Now, certified pre-apprenticeship programs, it prepares individuals for entry into a registered apprenticeship program in which the completion of the program guarantees the participant the opportunity to interview for employment in a specific registered apprenticeship program. A pre-apprenticeship is coursework or training designed to prepare individuals to enter and succeed in a registered apprenticeship program. Once the participant completes the program, he or she typically has the opportunity to interview for a registered apprenticeship program. And here you have those lines identifying that intentional pipeline in order to create those skilled and qualified wage earners. One of the biggest challenges, of course, that Tennessee employers are facing, even the Department of Labor and Workforce Development, is bridging the gap of skilled labor. We certainly want to help those companies overcome those hurdles. We want them to be successful in expansion and innovating, and we want them to thrive. Again, registered apprenticeships, it is a tried and proven method to overcoming those obstacles aforementioned. So a company can recruit, train, and retain workers to help build its own workforce. Today, Tennessee has apprenticeship programs in healthcare, graphic design, sewing, along with traditional mechanical and construction trades, and much, much more. Apprenticeships have a great return on investment. For companies with programs, it is estimated a company's return on investment is $1.46 for every $1 invested. Also, most companies see a 94% retention rate after an apprentice completes its program. So here we have listed, just to emphasize, the benefits to employers, that reliable pipeline of employees, reaching higher productivity, creating that highly skilled employee, reducing those turnover costs, creating a safer workplace, and enhancing employee. Thank you, and we're on. Myth number one, only unions, apprenticeships are only for unions or large employers. The fact is, for small, apprenticeships are for small and large businesses, non-union and union shops, organizations, and colleges are all currently registered apprenticeship sponsors. Myth number two, apprenticeships are only for construction trades and manufacturing. The fact is, more than 1,000 approved apprentice occupations, including professional occupations. There are apprenticeship programs in all industries. Myth number three, apprenticeships are only for non-college bound individuals. The fact is, apprenticeships blend work and education. Many programs include college level education. And myth number four, the federal government will micromanage my workforce and tell me who to hire. That is certainly not true. This is a flexible program suited to fit the employer's needs. The Office of Apprenticeship sets the framework. The program is designed and managed by the sponsor. As the employer decides who to hire, who to fire, how much to pay the apprentice, and how much they want to manage the apprentice. We certainly want you to follow us on social media. Of course, we have our website where there is a wealth of information on all of those key points that we highlighted today and much, much more. You can follow us on Facebook and LinkedIn. We certainly have our service personality, and we would like for you to see and keep abreast of how we engage with our employers, our sponsors, in order to increase the number of apprentices throughout Tennessee. Here are our contacts. I am your contact in the West. We have Charlene in the middle, and you heard from her earlier. And of course, Holly is in the East. She's also our State Apprenticeship Director. Jessica is our Assistant Director. She also gives technical assistance. We have Lynn Kirby, who is our Grants Manager. And we have Erica Hare, who is our Administrative Services Assistant. And if you need any assistance that is of a financial nature, and that is to offset some of those costs, we also have our partners in each region, Grand Division, who will assist you with exploring those opportunities after your program is registered. But we would certainly love to have some one-on-ones with you all offline to discuss those opportunities. If you have any questions, you sure can go to our chat or send us an email. Don't forget to visit our website. Thank you so much for your time and attention and for attending our conference on today. Thank you. Here's Holly.
At this time, we're going to get ready to begin our industry panel. I would like to first introduce each one of our panelists. I'll talk about the region they're from, their job titles, the employer, and the occupations they currently have registered. So I'm going to start first in the East with Carrie Smith. She's the Human Resource Manager at Valmont, and occupations that she currently has registered, one is the Industry Manufacturing Technician. In the East, we also have Cody Miley, Training Specialist for Oshkosh Corporation, and he currently has Welding Combination. In the West, we have Angela Massey, the Director of Human Resources Plant Operations with Atlanta Track, and she has Machine Operator 1. And then we also have Scott Ellsworth, who is one of our intermediaries for the for manufacturing world, and we appreciate Scott joining us today, and he is statewide. He works for the Jobs for the Future, so JFF. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. All right, so I'm going to just start with a couple of questions and we'll get going. So this is for Carrie, Cody, and Angela. How has the Registered Apprenticeship Program benefited your company? And Carrie, if you'll start us off.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. So I think we've seen a lot of benefits from this, and I think first and foremost, it has enabled us to build a sustainable talent pipeline. We have seen a great return on investment. We have seen improvements across all of our KPIs across the board. Really in the turnover rate, that was one of our biggest focuses, is how do we reduce that. So we were able to end 2020 at a 5.5% turnover rate. That was with the inclusion of our program, our pre-apprenticeships and our apprenticeship program. So just super excited. We continue to see those benefits with retention and reducing training costs. We also see those folks coming in that they're ready to move up. You know, their growth potential, we see that to be much greater with our apprentices as well. So just a few of the benefits we've seen.
Thank you, Carrie. Cody?
Okay, so one of the things the apprenticeship did for us was it allowed us to take the high schoolers and start them as juniors. And then whenever they went back to the high school and they would talk about the apprenticeship experience that they had at Oshkosh, it actually became a recruitment tool for us, because the apprentices then would want to share with their friends their experience, and then their friends would come and they would be interested in the program. So it was really beneficial for us. It really went far beyond what I ever expected our apprenticeship to even start out as. So it was great. I've enjoyed everything throughout our apprenticeship, working with the state, Dr. Campbell at the high school, and it's really been good for us. It's allowed those students, whenever they graduate high school, they're able to move up and move up in the company, and they become great leaders within our company.
Thank you, Cody. Angela.
Good morning, everyone. I would say in Memphis, Tennessee, it's been a long journey, but what the apprenticeship has done for us more than anything, all of those things that Carrie and Cody mentioned are benefits we are seeing. But beyond that, the commitment of our community to this program and to the young people in the neighborhood where we are situated has just been nothing short of remarkable. So with that, it's allowed us to focus our expansion efforts. So the next 10 years, every investment Atlantic Track makes will be in Memphis because of the commitment of this community to our workforce and because of the successes we've seen in the region with children. We currently have 8 students that are in high school and work-based learning. That doesn't seem like a lot, but it is a lot, and all of them will be entering apprenticeship programs here. We had our first apprenticeship graduate yesterday, and so it was a huge day for us and our partner school to be able to give this young man his certificate of completion after 3 long years, of working towards this, and what a joy. So he will now be a spokesperson for Atlantic Track. He will be in the schools, meeting with students, and it's just the commitment and the love and the follow through of the community along with us is helping us really make a difference in South Memphis, and we couldn't be happier.
Thank you, Angela. Scott, the next question is for you. How do apprenticeship programs benefit manufacturers?
Well, thanks, Holly. And just to share with everybody, so you can tell I'm not from Tennessee. I'm living in Cincinnati, and I have been doing apprenticeship work with manufacturers all over the country for the past half dozen or so years. And what I have seen with manufacturers, and you hear this, and the best people to tell you are really Carrie and Angela and Cody, is just that they see better retention. They feel like their program is more structured. So when people complete, they are much more qualified for the job. And probably the thing that I really stress to employers all the time is this is a build versus buy strategy for your workforce. Most of us as employers have gone out, we've tried to buy our workforce. We're looking for fully competent people. We're going to pay top dollar. And I always say to employers, how's that working out for you today in this economy? Not very well. So here you have an opportunity to take individuals who are high potential and have the ability to learn the job and build them into the workforce that you need. And that's probably the single most important thing employers need to remember.
Thank you, Scott. Next question. This is also still for, we're going back to Carrie, Cody, and Angela. What were the primary challenges you faced in implementing and operating an apprenticeship program? And how did you overcome these challenges? So Angela, I'm going to let you kick off first.
All right. When we first began this journey, I asked every question you can imagine. We had the entire economic development team from the Greater Memphis Chamber here. We had Gwen Fisher from the state of Tennessee, school principals, you name it. We had a round table, and I kept saying, but what's in it? What's in it for us? What's in it for us? And it seemed like an awful lot of red tape, but it really wasn't. It took us getting to the right person in Charlene Russell, and understanding the dynamic of it. And once we got through that, it was so simple. I mean, it just came together. The state folks just held our hand through it. We put it together. We had the RTI piece for the high school, and then we had the on-the-job learning. We knew what that would be, right? So if we had had Charlene Russell from day one when we began this project, I'd probably have 4 apprenticeships. So I would encourage anyone interested in pursuing this to reach out, use the resources that are available to you. If you don't know what they are, give me a call. I'll give you a number. I'll send you in the right direction. So, and from there, it just took off and blossomed. So the challenges were really not being from an educational background, understanding the dynamic of the competencies we were looking for on the educational piece, quite frankly. So
Thank you, Angela. Cody, can you please share?
So from my point of view, it wasn't that there was challenges. It was that I had a lot of questions, and the State Department and everyone that was involved did a really good job working with me. They have the patience of Job whenever it came to me, because I had a lot of questions. And as we were setting this up and we were starting the first one and we did our first class, it was right in the middle of COVID breaking out. So it brought on another set of challenges that we had to face, and I had no idea what I was doing. But I would greatly encourage anyone to just jump in and set up apprenticeships, because every time you call someone at the state, I promise you, I'm living proof, they'll answer the phone and they'll answer your questions and they'll do their best to try to help you. So I was thrilled with how our apprenticeship became a success, and how many people we have in our apprenticeship today.
Thank you, Cody. Angela? I'm sorry, Carrie?
I actually agree completely with Angela and Cody. It's really about, I think my biggest challenge was just knowing where to start, not really understanding what was going to be expected as the employer and how I was going to meet those educational needs. And just building that network and tapping into those resources, to your point, and those subject matter experts that, really know from the state, and your educational partners how to help you put it together. So I hear the word apprenticeship and you're not sure, but it really, I hear a lot about red tape, and we didn't really have to deal with any of that. It was a pretty painless process. I just was really shocked at how simple it was to get this started. But again, it was about that community and everybody coming together and aligning our strategies and trying to work towards those same common goals that really got us off the ground. So network and resources for sure.
Thank you, Carrie. Scott, next question for you. Still on the same lines. What are the primary challenges you've seen companies experience, and how have you helped and assisted in implementing plans?
So really, there are 2 challenges that you'll see consistently, particularly if you're a third party helping employers with apprenticeships. The first is, it's not always the top priority. You've got to be profitable. You've got to be on time. You've got to have good quality product. All of those things are far and above more important than workforce until you don't have workforce. And then it's always a crisis trying to fix the workforce issues. So having a third-party organization, or having the folks in Tennessee, or having your workforce board or your chamber or any of these organizations that are there to support you, allowing them to help navigate all of this and allow you to do your regular job is really what makes this useful. The other challenge that employers face is that most employers have never really sat down and looked at a job and said, what does a totally proficient individual in this job look like? We all have job descriptions, but a job description is not descriptive of the competencies it takes. That's where the biggest portion of the work is. It's not in the paperwork. It's not in the reaching out to the folks at the state. It's really in, how do I develop, what does a fully competent individual look like? So those are the challenges. And so what a third party does is obviously help you navigate that, holds your hand, does as much of the work as you can dump on them, and they're just here to support you. I hate to say it, but we're here to help, and we're from the government sometimes.
Thank you, Scott. So next question is for everyone. And Scott, I would like for you to end on the note of this question. So if everyone else could go first. What are the costs that were associated with the registered apprenticeship program for your company, and who paid? So Cody, I'm going to let you start.
We were very fortunate. We already had a training program in place at Oshkosh because of the product that we build. And for our dual enrollment, we was able to get grants for the apprentices to do the dual enrollment portion through the local TCAT here. So honestly, our costs never changed compared to what we were already doing in the first place. So we really didn't see anything. We already provide the PPE. We had everything already in place because of the product we built.
Thank you. Carrie?
We've been very fortunate as well to tap into WIOA funds and work with our local job center and grants. And I think just over this past year, we have added about $50,000 back in grant money towards our bottom line that goes right back into programs. And, again, like Oshkosh, we already had our training programs in place. So consumables, are one of those biggest costs. We do work to make sure that they're, can check on the funds for paid work experience and some of those things. So just really tapping into those resources. There's a ton of them out there for employers to help get the program started and to offset some of the costs. The other side of that is we saw such a reduction in cost in training and savings in retention that it just basically it was a no-brainer. It was a win situation as we continue to reap those benefits.
Thank you, Carrie. Angela?
Well, we have been very fortunate as well. We had slated capital expenditures for our Memphis facility, and our CEO was here when we actually had the ceremony with the first apprenticeship. And prior to that, he was so inspired by the work we were doing, and he met the kids in the community that we invested in a building that we are currently rehabbing, hopefully 1 January. Big party in Memphis, you're all invited. State-of-the-art training system. Center with classrooms, with everything you can imagine. Relevant to our training, we had some of that in place, but some of it we didn't. And one of the questions my employer, my CEO asked me was, well, Angela, what if we train these people and they leave? And I said, well, what if we don't and they stay? Where are we going to go? What if we don't train them and they stay? So with that, I won. And beyond that, we had the great fortune of working closely with our local workforce boards, and we've had funding, which has empowered us to be able to take the time, because time is the greatest investment for us, is just time. But to take the time to develop the curriculum, to have those important conversations. So overall, it's been a very positive experience for us, to the fact that to the point that we are investing hundreds of thousands of dollars in this facility and in classrooms to grow this program. And we're going to push that model to all of our facilities nationwide. It's going to really help me when we get it going everywhere. So.
Thank you, Angela. Scott, can you add anything?
Well, you know that I can, Holly. There's always something to say. I guess the thing that to Angela's point, a couple of things that I wanted to say, particularly about this, what if we train them and they leave? The thing you're going to find with apprenticeship is that you've built a system that you're able to develop and train your own workforce. If somebody leaves, you don't have a problem backfilling for them because you've got them in process. The real risk for businesses when it comes to this is there's huge lost productivity by not having people in open positions. And so if you're able to bring people on that have the ability to learn into those positions that today are standing empty and not earning you anything, and you pay them more of an entry-level wage, and as they become more skilled, you pay them more, so they're worth more to the business, you're sharing that with them. All of that is good payback for you as a business. Don't do this because the state may give you some money to pay for things, or the state may give you money to pay for your community college courses. That's not the value. The value in this is that you have a solid workforce and you have a way to backfill and continuously fill that workforce. Frequently I say, about employers being worried that somebody will leave is it's kind of like the old Doritos commercial. And I'm kind of a commercials guy. And I realized it was much longer ago because I looked it up. It's the munch all you want, we'll make more. So if you take our people, we'll build more. That was actually in 1988, Holly. So you probably don't remember it. It was a Super Bowl commercial, and I thought it was yesterday. So what I would say is that there are tons of organizations out there to support you. The state of Tennessee is making a huge investment in putting people on. This is a place for you to go and to build your own workforce. There is very few jobs that couldn't be apprenticed. So if you're looking for a way to build the skill of your workforce, even people who are incumbents that you want to build up, this is a really good tool for doing that.
Thank you so much, Scott. Last question, and this is for everyone. What is the best piece of advice you would give another manufacturer considering an apprenticeship program? And I'm going to start with Angela.
Do your homework first. Find your local person, whether it's Shalandria or Charlene. Find your state representative that can help you, and it'll really make your life a lot easier. Form those partnerships in the community. Most critical thing you can do is a network. Know your schools, know your educational leadership in the community.
Thank you. Carrie?
Again, I couldn't agree more with Angela. Take action. I think that's my biggest piece of advice. Start somewhere. Start making those phone calls. It has been, changing for our entire company, for our community. To her point, our associates love being mentors and being able to transfer that knowledge. So it's impacted them. They're now, getting their families involved, bringing their sons back to workforce and their daughters getting enrolled in these apprenticeship programs. So I think just get started, tap into those resources. If you're not sure, ask your peers, reach out to someone on this call, come see our programs, see it in action, and let us share with you that return on investment.
Thank you, Carrie. Cody?
Just to go off what Angela and Carrie said, one of the things that we did was we already had a relationship with the high school. We already had a relationship with the local TCAT. But getting involved in community activities, the recruitment came a lot from those situations. And then, like I said earlier, one of the great things that happened in our apprenticeship was whenever we started having students come to the plant, they went back and they told their friends about their experience here. And then that just created a pipeline for us as well. So
thank you, Cody. Scott, would you like to add anything? As you said, I know you would, so the floor is yours.
Actually, the only thing I'd like to add, first, don't go it alone. Get somebody who can give you the guidance you need. But second, take note of what Brad Manis said in the chat. They've been running an apprenticeship for 20 years, and it's rare to lose somebody who completed the program. That is a better testimony than anything I can tell you right there.
Thank you, Scott. I want to remind everyone the chat is open. You please join in. At this time, too, I'm going to turn it over to our Assistant Administrator, Tyra Copas, to close us out. Thank you, panelists. We appreciate all of your knowledge and sharing how successful you have become. Thank you.
Thanks, Holly, and thanks to all of the panelists. I will have to admit, I kind of feel like I'm having a proud mama moment because of all the great comments made about the apprenticeship team. So for all of you on the call, we have a lot of goals and missions since we are state employees. But when we talk about how we're serving employers, we constantly say we need to break down that red tape for you. And so it was just really refreshing to me to hear from the employers about how easy it was to work with someone from the state and how they made that process very helpful and seamless for them. And so that is the apprenticeship team's mission, is to help employers navigate a very complicated process and make it easy, and use those terms that you may not be familiar with, and use those and turn those into terms that you are familiar with. So, related technical training, what is that? That is just your training program. That's that education component. So I really am grateful to the panelists that made those comments. It's so great to see all of you again. So I am Tyra Copus, and I am the Assistant Administrator with Workforce Services. So I have the pleasure and the honor of overseeing the Apprenticeship TN office. But I've been part of the Tennessee's journey when it comes to apprentices over the past 2 years. And so, as Steve Plale mentioned earlier, in 2019, the state actually recognized the impact apprentices have and the impact they're making for our employers in Tennessee, all around developing that highly quality, skilled workforce for Tennessee. So following that vision, the Apprenticeship Office was established to help our employers, again, set up those programs, to help our existing sponsors update their programs, or really help either build new programs or establish talent pipelines, just to make sure that their apprenticeship program is working and that they're seeing the value that's coming out of that program. And so since 2019, the Office of Apprenticeships in Tennessee, we've had numerous all-time highs, whether that's new programs being developed, new or individuals actually completing their programs and going on to be those longevity employees at your company, to growing our overall numbers of apprentices in Tennessee. And so, like mentioned earlier, we are now hitting over 7,300 apprentices in Tennessee, climbing that ladder every day. That's a 33% growth in 2 years. That should tell you a little bit about employers that are building these programs, seeing the value, and are building additional occupations in their programs. So when I think about the apprenticeship space, what it does, how it impacts, and who it impacts, I usually think of 3 areas. So the first is that individual, changing the lives of individuals. That's just that good feeling we all get, right? So when I think about what an apprenticeship program does for an individual, it gives them that paid work experience with a dedicated mentor. We've all had jobs where we've started our job, we have a few hours maybe of training, and then you're out on your own to figure it out. And so how much productive can we be if we have someone to help guide us, to help answer those questions, someone to just look over our stuff to say, yes, you're doing a good job, or you're doing it right, or there's a better way, a quicker way to do things. And so that's what an apprenticeship program brings, is that dedicated mentor with that on-the-job learning. Of course, they're going to get that related instruction or in that classroom, that education needed to be applicable to the job that they're doing. And then they get all that, and in addition to any educational credential that they may earn, they're also going to get that nationally recognized and portable credential from the United States Department of Labor. So all of this means a secured future for that individual, and a secured future without any debt. So that's most important for the individual. From employers, I think we had some great comments on the panel from employers about retention level and recruiting level. And yes, that's what it's all about. But we also heard from Scott about it's more about that. It's more about your production line, making sure you have skilled talent. And if someone leaves, someone that can step in and fill that job, that has the knowledge, that has the training, that has the ability to perform well in their job task. And so that's where the rubber meets the road when it comes to the employers. It's about retention. It's about high quality work, which results in production, especially in manufacturing, which, high production equals high revenues. And so it's all about profit and making that difference. So when I talk about communities is my third area, here's kind of where I get really passionate about it. So that apprenticeship programs makes a difference for employers, makes a difference for individuals. It makes a complete difference for that community. So it's really bringing in top talent, keeping talent in our communities, especially in some of our rural communities. So we have lots of manufacturing in rural communities, and making sure we're attracting talent to those rural communities instead of leaving talent. So keeping those citizens in your community is extremely important. And how do you do that? You establish that job that gives them that longevity. And so making sure that we're building programs that support both public and private partnerships, improves the workforce, supports those all of our local employers, but most importantly, it changes the economic trajectory in our households. And so you heard, I think, I can't remember if it was Cody or one of the panelist members say, you know, my goal for you, and what you heard the panelists say, is act. So your goal after this call is to act, to get connected. And there are lots of ways to get connected. So get connected with your regional apprenticeship director. You heard how great they were. Your community colleges, your TCAT colleges, they're on standby. They're ready to help you connect, especially in the manufacturing space. They have some great programs that you can tap into. In addition, the state is supporting the manufacturing apprenticeship efforts for our Tennessee Board of Regents. And in the upcoming months, they will be receiving a monetary award to help employers offset some of those costs to build registered apprenticeships in the manufacturing space. So make sure you're connecting with your community colleges and your TCATs. You know, a third area to connect with is your intermediaries, like Scott on the call. They can help you get connected. They can help you set up programs, and they will help also connect you to the right resources. And then the fourth one is your local workforce boards. So I know Carrie and Angela, they're both very connected with their local workforce boards, and you can hear those local workforce boards can help identify ways to offset the expenditures for an apprenticeship program for a company. And so it's really important to connect with your local workforce board. Your regional directors can help you with that connection to your local workforce board. So in closing, just want to mention that the success we're having in the apprenticeship space in Tennessee is in large part to the Tennessee team, but it's also a dedicated and very diligent effort it's taking from all of our Tennessee employers and all of our partnering organizations. And so I don't want to leave out anybody, but I do want to mention a few of our state agencies and give thanks to them. So our Tennessee Board of Regents, colleges, and TCATs, our adult education programs to helping us set up pre-apprenticeships, Department of Education to helping support pre-apprenticeships in that K through 12 space, our Department of Corrections, our work reentry individuals, Department of Human Services, our Economic and Community Department, and of course our industry intermediaries, as well as our local workforce board and our American Job Centers. They're all playing an important part of making sure apprenticeship programs are successful in Tennessee. So again, thank you to the panel. Thank you, Angela and Carrie, Cody and Scott. It's so good to hear from you again. And thank you to the Registered Apprenticeship team in Tennessee. So Holly, Jessica, Charlene, Shalandria, Lynn, and Erica, thank you for pulling this together. Thank you to our Assistant Commissioner, Steve Plale, for your opening comments and your support. So we couldn't do this team, or the apprenticeship team could not do what they do without the support from state leadership. And so thank you, Steve, for giving them the autonomy to help employers and to serve their communities. So with that, I'm going to do a quick pause to see if there are any questions in the chat that need to be answered. And Holly, I'll look to you to jump on and let me know good to go, or if we need to pause and answer a question.
I think all the chat was taken care of throughout, so I think we're good to go. I just want to say a shout out. Thank you, everyone. This has been a spectacular week, and I appreciate our administrators. I appreciate all the panelists and industry partners, and I really appreciate the apprenticeship team. It's been a long week. It's been a fun week, and it's been exciting. So thank you, everyone, for joining. Please reach out. You have our contact information, and we're here to support you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.